Hello, I'm Maggie Miller, here with Shubhankar Srivastava. He is the co-founder of Houseware. He's here to tell us a little bit more about how they're improving operational efficiencies with DevRev. So welcome.
Hey Maggie, great to be here.
So can you give us an overview of Houseware?
Sure. Houseware essentially is a product meant for B2B SaaS teams. It's a revenue experience product which helps sales teams, finance teams, support teams, everybody who's involved in the revenue function, be more actively involved in the data experience as well. Right? So what that means is if my head of finance wants to know my MRR, he doesn't or she doesn't have to go to my engineering team, hey, pull out those reports from Stripe. I can directly go to Houseware and find what my metrics are. It's a product which enables democratization of all of your business metrics in a super easy manner for your non-technical, or we call them as quasi-technical user base. Essentially, imagine this to be Retool, something that's no code, flexible, something like Notion, but built on top of your data warehouse. So it's compatible with your data team. It's compatible with your data engineering functions. So they're always in control, version control metrics, but also super flexible, super easy for the non-technical team to also work with. Yeah.
And what were some of the challenges that Houseware was having before starting to use DevRev?
Yeah. So before DevRev, our team was using a bunch of different product management tools. We were trying out, hey, how does this integrate with GitHub? Hey, I don't really have a system of record. My Slack messages are here and there. I don't really know what is one thing that I should be focusing on in this sprint. Developers were saying that, hey, I need to update my GitHub pull request. I need to update this ticket on this particular product. And then I need to come on and Slack and say, hey, I'm done with this. So all of that kind of added a lot of overhead for us. And as an engineering team of 4 people, we want to be fast. We want to be shipping as fast as we can. We eventually reverted to the old way of using Microsoft Excel, Google Spreadsheets to kind of product manage the entire dev process, and it worked well for quite a while. But even then, we started realizing then, hey, something better that could integrate with all my tools, whether it be GitHub, AWS, Slack, everywhere that we're having customer conversations as well as developer conversations, we want to be having them in one place. And when we started trying out DevRev, it kind of grew onto the whole team, and now we've started using it on a daily basis.
That's great. Were there any other tools that you were looking at in the market before choosing DevRev?
I mean, there's the usual ones. We were looking at Jira, we were looking at things like Linear, but of course, each of them have their own pros and cons. A bunch of us had worked with Trello before. We didn't really have any one place or one tool that we were very keen on exploring or adopting. We were actually open to whatever works for our team. Our engineering team is super small. All we really care about is shipping. The tools are just enablers. So DevRev fit in right there.
And how is DevRev being used within the organization?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one because I've talked with the DevRev team and they've mentioned that Houseware uses DevRev in a very unique way. The main value add for us is giving us that product system of record. Essentially, any ticket that's been created by a customer, any internal issue, hey, this pixel is off here, anything that has come up within Slack or in-person conversations, all of those things, whether these are like wild imaginative ideas. So we have this channel called Imagine where there's a shower thought and somebody just goes on Slack and writes that out. So we wanted one place to be consolidating all of that. Slack was that like knowledge CRM for us for a very long time, but now we've started moving that to DevRev. Another thing that we use DevRev actively for is like when we're managing issues, it's actually integrated with my GitHub pull requests as well as my AWS CI pipeline. So let's say an issue gets created. I tag a pull request to it that, hey, this is the work that's been assigned. Let's review this. All of that log is in my issue history. when it gets merged, the issue automatically gets resolved, and then the CI pipeline starts via so we use Elastic Beanstalk on AWS. That entire CI history also comes into the DevRev event log. So that's an interesting way to combine different tools that we've seen with DevRev, and it helps bring all of those things into one place, more from an observability sense, that anybody, whether they be technical, non-technical, whether they're just an intern or whether they're the CEO, like doesn't matter. Everybody has full transparency into each issue, each ticket. Combine that with like the system of record concept is kind of where we see DevRev's value.
And so what are some of the benefits you're experiencing with DevRev?
Yeah. I think the major one, like emotionally, I feel is I don't have to be anxious about missing something. I know that somebody somewhere has created a DevRev issue out of it, and next Monday when I look at my stack, I know that where my team is, what are the pending issues, what are the bugs that customers have faced, what are the bugs that we've resolved. So it's kind of a scorecard for us, and just takes away all of that anxiety from my head that, hey, we're missing this one thing. So I'd say that is the biggest one. Yeah.
And could you talk about some of the features of DevRev that are really important to your organization?
Yeah. So I briefly talked about how issues now have all of those event logs. So whether they are coming from GitHub or pull requests from GitHub pull requests or CI pipelines from Elastic Beanstalk, that's something that's crucial. In addition to that, we see this new concept called trails that DevRev has launched. It's really helpful to visualize my entire tech stack. And if somebody new is coming onto the team, it's really easy for me to take them through, hey, this is what my backend looks like. This is what my data stack looks like. If I double click here, I see all of these features that are contributing to this particular workflow on the product, right? So trails from that sense, just having a 30,000 foot view of the product is super helpful for me whenever somebody new is coming in, or I want to double click, hey, what is this feature actually, where is it coming from, which microservices are actually feeding into this particular feature. So it's really helpful there. Apart from that, one really neat feature that I liked was this thing called similar work items. I've seen this in previous startups that I've worked at, that many times you have a bug sitting there or you have a feature request, and then more people figure that out that, hey, this is a bug that's coming up again and again and again. And then your Jira is kind of flooded with the same issue in different versions. Deduplication of that becomes a process that, okay, somebody else has to do. Okay, these 10 tickets are actually 3 tickets, not 10. So I think DevRev allows you to identify similar work items as you're typing a new issue, as you're typing in a new ticket, and that kind of dedupes it right out of the gate. You don't even have to worry about identifying similar items. Of course, there is another use case of that feature where you realize that, hey, there is my login page that is broken, but here we're talking about log out. So both of those might be related, and you can look at what's been happening in login so that I can implement log out better, right? So just having those similar issues grouped together is helpful from a broader standpoint.
And what has been your overall experience working with the entire DevRev team?
Yeah, actually, DevRev's engineering team and our engineering team work out of the same office in Bangalore. It's been really hands-on, I would say, over the last 3 months or so. We've had very, very good support working with the engineering team, where we've gotten access to the early beta features, where we've been like those users who've actually fed feedback. We've given feedback back on the product, and also gotten access to things early. And we've seen that short feedback loop actually working well for DevRev's team, as well as for our team to derive inspiration from both from a design and product sense. Yeah.
Great. And how do you see Houseware using DevRev in the future as your company grows?
Yeah. I think right now our team is fairly lean, and we aim to keep it that way. But of course, the team will scale, and eventually processes will become more important. Right now, a lot of our knowledge is residing in our heads, which we're slowly documenting more and more over Notion pages, DevRev issues, whatever you say, that organizational mind, that organizational knowledge will sort of become more and more crucial as the company scales. And that's why we've started using DevRev early on. So that when the 10th engineer comes on, when the 20th engineer comes on, we don't have that problem of, hey, there's this set of people who know everything, and then this set of people who know almost very, very little. So we don't want that to happen, and that's why we're engineering this process right from the front. And we feel like that organizational knowledge is something that will help us as we scale.
Great. Anything else you'd like to share?
I think one thing that working with Bhavna from DevRev's team and the entire engineering team, it's been super inspirational looking at how fast DevRev's team has shipped, and more importantly, the vision of the team, right? How they look at how DevRev will change the way developers work. That's kind of inspiring. And me and my co-founder, Divyansh, talk about this as to how to actually think big is something that we've taken a leaf out of from the DevRev team. So I'd commend the DevRev team on that.
That's wonderful. It's so great to hear your story, Shubhankar. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie.